Hello everyone. Yes, today I have Eckhart talking about the way of thinking and how it manipulates us and how you can use it rather than letting it sabotage. Manipulation is not so it's, if you don't give a judgment on that word, it's not even bad or good, huh? You can be manipulated in a good way or in a bad way. But the sabotaging thinking, that is not helpful. So, enjoy this talk and become aware of this importance of watching your thoughts, how important this is to observe your thoughts, your thinking, which thoughts come up and you believe them, and that's a different thing. You are the one that's believing, and the one or the thing or the actually, and there we go, the thing that creates the thought, all the thoughts, which is not you. You are believing them. It's like it's like two things separated from each other, but they are combined in your whole human being. So we often identify with it and think, okay, the thing that is believing something is also the thing creating a thought. But this is not true. And often, but very, very often, maybe even, maybe 100%, but let me not, I don't want to say that, of the thoughts come from programs. It's 100%. Now as I say this, it is 100%. The thoughts are produced by programs. And these programs have been programmed in the past. And I'm stopping to talk because there is no past, there is no future, there's just now. Always. So, what is it then? Where does this come from? Okay, I get really... Today I'm really connected to knowledge. I have and it comes right away. The answer came just right away, but really be aware, be open to believe what is coming here through me, and I'm telling you it's for our normal brain, school teach brain, it's not really it's not believable for this brain, huh? So the answer was, as there is no past and no future, there's only now. All the thoughts that are arising there are from each individual that lives right now, right there, here in this moment. It's like you have an antenna, a sensor that receives information. And this receiving information are thoughts. And they are coming from all the people, and maybe even animals. I must even admit that this came also. Animals, everything sends out information, and you are receiving it. So knowing this means whichever thought comes, you can observe it, check it if you like it or not, if you would like to follow it or not. And that's the part of manipulation there, because all the thoughts are not yours. They come from the senders out there. So you decide which thought of those out there you are going to follow, yeah? And that's a manipulation, that this information is even there right now. It could be not there. Someone could not have sent it. Then there would be silence completely. But it's there. So, and I must also correct me here, because there are certain thoughts that are intentions that are coming from your own self. They exist too, parallel to the other ones. There are these intentional thoughts, let's say, that arise, and they are produced by yourself, from within yourself. And they have a different frequency. They are completely different to the ones that are all around you, coming from the outside. And to sense that difference, that is a challenge for most of us these days. Why? Because we are completely overloaded and completely let's not say overloaded. We are not in balance. Our whole system is not in balance. And that's why we are not able to use that ability that we all have, but it's not trained well enough. The ability to differentiate between signals coming from outside and signals coming from within. Yeah. But that's something you can learn. And how do you learn that? Trust me, it is by becoming silent. Going into silence, meditating. Meditation is the really big key here. Yeah, and you won't believe how efficient you will be. You will be minimum 40 to 50% more efficient in everything you are doing. And why am I able to say that? Well, of course, because I have experienced it by myself. That's how it was with my awakening period. This is how it all, came. Okay, so now, go ahead, listen to this wonderful talk from Eckhart, and then after his talk, enjoy my additional, I give you some tips and tricks and impulses with kind of, quite some energy today. Today's a quite energetic day, and I think it's a portal day. There are these certain, if you maybe are a little bit interested in our cosmos, how the planets stand to each other, and how the atmosphere behaves, and the frequencies are, it has an influence on us, believe it or not. Okay, now take your cup of tea or your warm water, sit down, take a blanket, find yourself in a cozy, wonderful place, and then just enjoy everything, every information you are about to receive now. And don't forget, you can always look me up in the internet, on Facebook or Instagram, if you would really like or love a free coaching session. And we can do that in the way of talking, or we can do it in a way of a guided session through a certain issue you would like to look at or solve, or a certain emotion that you are struggling with, for example. Okay, or a certain situation you have in your life, a certain construction site you're having in your life. Okay, all right, enjoy now.
There's a line in Shakespeare, I don't remember which play, and it says, "Nothing is either good or bad, but thinking makes it so." There's a very important lesson here. An essential part of spiritual awakening, or we could call it the awakening of consciousness, is to learn to become aware of the difference between the situation that you find yourself in and what your mind says about the situation that you find yourself in, particularly challenging situations. Many of you at this time are perhaps confined to a small space, perhaps a small apartment, not allowed to go out except to buy groceries or other essentials. Perhaps you have to share that space with several people, or there's nobody else and you're feeling lonely. Or you may be experiencing that money is becoming scarce because you've been laid off, no more income, or you're feeling sick and there's a fever, there's cough. Now, all these things that many of you are experiencing now would conventionally, normally be called bad. And yes, I suppose on a conventional level they are not pleasant, particularly if you're sick. So what does it mean? What does Shakespeare mean when he says, "Nothing is either good or bad, but thinking makes it so"? So your very essential spiritual lesson is to be able to differentiate between a situation that you are experiencing and your mental commentary about the situation that you're experiencing, the thoughts that you have concerning the situation that you're experiencing. Now, for most people, anybody who's not sufficiently aware, for most people, whatever they experience and the mental commentary that they have about their experience are a single phenomenon. They cannot separate them. So, let's say you are cooped up in a small space, have been there for already a week or 2 weeks, and you're thinking about how much longer and you can't stand it anymore. This is just too awful. And the self-talk continues, and it's telling you how awful and unacceptable this situation is, and this self-talk may generate self-pity, it may generate anger, it may generate depression, and it certainly will generate fear, because a lot of the self-talk is about how bad it's not just how bad it is now, but how bad it's going to be. It's going to be worse. That's what the mind is often saying. And then, when the mind is saying that it's going to get worse, then basically for you it is already worse, and it gets worse and worse. So, since many of you have spare time these days, I suggest experimenting a little bit and becoming aware of the difference between the situation you find yourself in and the mental commentary about the situation. So when you feel unhappy, basically suffering where you are, and you're saying, I can't take much more of this, whatever the mind is saying, or the mind is saying it's going to get worse. I can't take another 3 weeks of this, how could I? What am I going to live on? And so on. So the commentary concerns certain things that are happening now. It may concern certain things in the so-called future. So you become aware of the self-talk. Basically, most humans talk to themselves a lot. Or you may also be talking to others. If you share space with other people, then this self-talk becomes the dialogue that you have with others. And as an experiment, I would suggest that you ask yourself, how would I experience this situation if I did not add any unnecessary thought to it? How would I experience this moment, the situation that I'm finding myself in, without the addition of an interpretation of the mind? I sometimes call that, in most cases, this addition, this interpretation, in many cases it's negative. There's usually not that much that the mind can comment on a very pleasant experience, it just experiences it, but the mind loves it when there's a difficult situation, then the mind can really get going and has a long story about it. How would I experience this moment without the addition of unnecessary thought? That's a strange question. I sometimes say that this addition of thought is excess baggage in your life. And many humans don't realize that they're making themselves unhappy for years and years, and sometimes a whole lifetime, because they never learn to differentiate between situations they find themselves in and that which the mind adds to the situation. So they experience the situation through the narrative of the mind. They cannot say, here's a situation and here's a narrative, but this is what I'm asking you to experiment with now, because you have plenty of time, or many of you have. How would I experience this moment if I refrained from interpreting it, calling it either good or bad? Okay, now this question doesn't have an answer on a conceptual level. This question directs your attention into the present moment, the aliveness of the present moment. And if you don't add any thought to it, but just an experiment, you can, if the experiment fails, if you don't like it, then you can continue with continuously adding narratives to the situation, and continue to experience the situation through the veil of the narrative that comments how awful it all is, that your life is falling apart, the world is falling apart, it's all so dreadful. That's a narrative. So how would I experience this moment if I did not add? Okay, let's do it. Let's refrain. It's not a doing. It's a refrain from doing something that is normally an unconscious mind process. Okay, what am I left with? Here I am. I'm sitting here looking around, breathing, whatever is here in this room. Look out of the window, see a bit of sky, tree, the light coming through the window, furniture in the room, whatever else is happening here, sensory perceptions. And you're breathing, and you are alive, presumably, although you may not actually experience being alive, but you can experience it by feeling the inner energy field of the body, which is alive. It's all part of the experience of this moment. And there you are, sitting there, and you have dropped the narrative. And all you're left with is the bare isness, beingness or isness of this moment. That's interesting. You may suddenly feel a kind of weight lifting of your shoulders, the weight that you habitually probably carry, which is the weight of, this is why I call it excess baggage. It is the weight of unconscious thinking, reactive thinking, the mind creating unhappy narratives. And then what you then experience is the body is reflecting back to you the unhappy narrative in the form of an unhappy emotion. That's called normal living. That's what, when you watch a movie, or everybody's doing it, that's just normal, not very few people question it. But there is another way, and that's the way of awareness or presence. So this is perhaps one of the most, or the most fundamental spiritual practice, is to be able to separate the narrative from the situation, and if possible, as much as possible, let go of the narrative and just be present with this moment as it is. And of course, the amazing fact is, this moment is all there ever is. Your entire life unfolds in and as this moment. In other words, it's always now. It's never not now. Your entire life is now. Whatever happened in the past happened in the now, and when you remember it now. Whatever will happen in the future will not happen in the future, it will happen in the now, because when the future comes, it's no longer future, it's the now. And when you think about the future, it's a thought. In the present moment, in the now. So life and now, your life and the now are inseparable. And there's an enormous power hiding in the now, which means hiding in you. And a deep sense of aliveness and beingness that goes far beyond what we conventionally call happiness. It's not happiness, it's deeper. But you need to be challenged by life to find it, and this is what's happening for millions collectively now. On a personal level, everybody gets challenged periodically also, but now collectively we're being challenged. We need to wake up out of unconscious thinking, out of complete identification with the thinking mind, which is conditioned by the past. And we need to realize that there is in us, there is in you another dimension of consciousness that has always been there, but habitually, one could say, overlooked. And that is the dimension of awareness, which is consciousness without thought. You probably have experienced it on many occasions, briefly. For example, when engaged in an activity that requires you to be absolutely present, climbing up a mountain, or sometimes perhaps engaged in some kind of sport activity, it requires you to be absolutely present. And then there's an awareness there, but there's no conceptual thinking, there's no time for thinking. And the strange thing is, this awareness is a deeper identity. It's the awareness that you are frees you ultimately from yourself, the limited self, the conditioned self, the mind-made sense of self that for most people, that's all they know. But there's more to you. And there's a deeper identity in you, and that identity is awareness itself, that is consciousness itself. It's the unconditioned consciousness itself. And it's not difficult to experience that, to realize that. But humans don't. They need the challenge to be driven there, and this is why what we are going through right now is potentially very helpful. So the practice is, how would I experience this moment without the addition of thought? And then you come to experience the pure isness of this moment, in which there is no suffering. There is only the isness of this, because all the unhappiness ultimately was not created by the situation, it was created by the narrative. But you didn't know that, as most humans still don't know that, because they cannot separate the situation from the narrative.
Okay, thank you very much, Eckhart, for this wonderful talk again. For all of us, including me, I love really the way he is thinking and explaining the words, using the words and transporting the information. Yeah, but now I want to guide over to, or move over to another important message, and that is connected to that manifestation process. Yeah, what if you can? What if you can be just filled with joy, no matter what is out there? No matter if there is a screaming baby around. What if we start there, and all your wishes, all your dreams, all what you want to achieve, what you want to experience in this life, and the goals you want to achieve, what if you say, okay, I know them and they are installed in my system by just having had that imagination about it and that thought about it, and now the only thing I have to do is be in joy and trust that it comes, and bring you into that stage. And I want to describe it a little bit before and then guide you into it, because it's so important. But I want to explain the whole chain of of process that it needs, that it has. Actually, first of all, you had this dream, this imagination, this will, this wish, this wanting. Okay, it's done. You can leave it now. Leave that thing and know that you have set this impulse out to the universe. You have sent out the mail. Your letter with all your wishes is already sent out to Santa Claus, let's say. And now, the only thing you have to now do is become into a state of joy, in a kind of like being happy already before, like, you know, if you're going to an appointment next week the way you're looking forward to, stay in that looking forward mood and joy, and be here. Experience the here, the now, every detail that is here now. Be here in the present moment and be aware. Do all kinds of practices during the whole day to be aware, to be always aware in every moment, in every... Yeah, and it's a training to become more and more practiced being in that state, in that kind of observing state where you watch how you feel, where you watch how you think, where you watch how you react or act, but from a distance, like disconnecting, and that's awareness. The self in you gets aware of what you are as an individual human being, you are feeling, doing, and saying and thinking. And from there on, it is automatically that everything that comes, or impulse that comes, leads you into that direction. Every impulse that comes that wants to tell you, okay, now do this, now do that, go ahead and do it, even though it might seem strange, odd, or even frightening. Do it. And if you can't do it, if you are blocked, go and get yourself some support. Call the person you know that can support you through that. And if you have no one, then go and get yourself some other support, like a coach, for example, like me. Yeah. But maybe you have some people around you that you know that if you're stuck in a certain situation, they always know how to get you over it, not back into your old state, but over it, to do it, to go ahead, to go the next step, to take it. And that's all it is. And then just by doing these things, by following these impulses that are coming, you will all of a sudden, one day, one moment, 1 second, one whatever, open your eyes and become aware that your dream is realized, that it is in realization. Maybe you become aware, I'm already having contact with someone who's selling, I don't know, whatever you like, whatever your wish is, I don't know. But you will all of a sudden become aware, things really come into my way. And this is really exciting in that moment. And then go further. And don't start then to rush. Stay in that awareness of just following the impulses that are coming. Yeah. And okay, now you have listened to that process, how to really achieve your goals, but that it is only going through being already joyful and grateful and aware. Yeah. And to become aware, please, you have to kind of change your behavior and like take it as a curious exercise. You want to just try and be curious about it, what it does. Get up earlier in the morning, half an hour to an hour. And if it's too much to you, start with 10 minutes earlier. And then sit these 10 minutes in your bed, close your eyes, take maybe your hands and hold them to your breast, to your heart. Feel the warmth underneath your hand palms. And just breathe and relax and feel that morning glory, that silent morning glory. Just let it go through you and feel everything that is there in that moment, and let all the thoughts pass by. 10 minutes earlier, and that's it. And then at the end of these 10 minutes, you can tell yourself, okay, how do I feel? You can ask yourself, how do I feel today? What would I like to experience today? How would I like to feel today through all the things that you know already that will come your way this day? Yeah. And in the evening, you can do the same. Go to bed and sit on your bed. Breathe in and out. Relax. It's like a pause for your brain. And I mean, you didn't give the brain any pause for many days, weeks, years, I don't know. But we have never learned to also rest our brain, only by sleeping. But there is a rest during being aware, awake. And that is important because in this state you produce a different capability, a different skill that you need to be connected to that intuitive side in you that leads you into better, much more efficient, much more good feeling, much more better flowing situations and decisions. It will improve it all. And that skill is gone because we have never learned to use that relaxing state for our brain during the day, like when you're sitting on a couch and relaxing your muscles of your feet. You have to do the same with your brain by just sitting, breathing in and out, and letting the thought machine slow down. Like waves, take these thoughts away, or like putting it on a cloud and let the cloud pass by, for example. Yeah, that's the practices you have to start with. And more will follow. You will see. Then you will you will get ideas from your own intuition. What could be done next? There could be something saying to you, oh, take a little walk. Go out for a walk now, no matter if it's raining or not. And then a next impulse comes. Buy some fresh food rather than meat, for example. And then it could even come like it happened to me. The intuition tells you to make certain sportive activation, but not in a certain like running or so, but like moving your arms, your legs, your everything in a certain new way, just intuitive. And that is so much more connected to you because it is exactly what your system at that moment needs. This movement of your arm, maybe you make circles with your arm, maybe you just make circles with your shoulders or whatever. There will be an intuition telling you which movement your body now needs to maybe get over something or get out something, some pressure or some information or some whatever, and it's very small things your body needs. It's not much. It doesn't need a whole running day. No. Or an hour of running. It doesn't need that. But if this is intuitive coming, that it's like pushing you with a high energy, I would love to go out and run very fast, then do that. Like interval running is very, very good for training your heart muscle, your breathing muscle, your breath, your lungs. These interval runnings, and I came to that also later, and that was really, really great, because you also learn to overcome panic attack symptoms. Symptoms from your body, from panic attacks, where you get short breathing and overreacting of your body, shaking. You will learn with interval running to calm these symptoms down, because they're exactly the same as if having a panic attack. And then if you suddenly become into then your system will know, that's it. Then you will breathe correctly. Start breathing automatically in the right way to calm yourself down. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I wanted to give that to you today, and I hope you can implement this into your life as I did, and yeah, it changes everything. That's where it changes. And then all of a sudden you will see, oh, that's so strange. I just did some walking, or just went to my bus and had a nice warm bath, and all of a sudden someone calls me and I have a job interview for the job that I love. The things don't come from the expected direction to you. They don't. They come from, and that's a nice thing about it. The universe just delivers in surprises, in really wonderful, great surprises. So follow your joy path, your intuition path, and not just joy. If your intuition tells you to do something that you're afraid of, follow it anyway, because the joy comes after. The solution, the end is always joy, but it sometimes means to go through some frightening moment. But the joy after that is unpayable, and that's what your system wants for you: joy, maximum joy. And the path to it is through sometimes struggle and being afraid, but do it faster and go into that anxious fear direction. The longer you stop going into that direction, the longer you will suffer, the longer you will feel bad, or so it's in your hands, huh? Okay, have a wonderful, wonderful day, second minute, yes, and be always aware who you really are. That wonderful lottery win in your life and all the other people around you, because they will get your reflection of this joy and this energy for life. And if you would look forward to have a coaching session with me, find me on Facebook or Instagram, write me to J.APPEL at JA Coaching, and then we have an appointment together. How wonderful is that? It's a free gift from me to you as you subscribe my channel, and I love my growing community. Yes.